Hello, and welcome to St. Louis University's webinar, How to Apply to SLU's Competitive Scholarships. My name is Andrea Hitzman, and I'm the Director of Campus Visits. I've worked in the Office of Admission at St. Louis University for over 20 years, and I am a two-time alumna. I'm excited to be your host and MC for tonight's event. This webinar will start with an overview of each of our competitive scholarship programs, the Presidential Scholarship and the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship, and you will hear directly from the scholars themselves. Then, a member of our admissions staff will take you through the process of how to apply to SLU and access your account in our portal. At any time during the webinar, you may ask a question in the chat and someone will respond to you immediately. After our presentation has concluded, we will continue answering questions, but we'll do so live and share the responses with the entire group. So I'd like to start by introducing my colleagues. Taylor.
Hello, my name is Taylor. I'm so sorry my video is not working, but hopefully we get it figured out before it's my turn to talk. But I graduated from SLU in May 2023, so recent grad, but I'm still living and working in the St. Louis area, and I was a Martin Luther King Jr. scholar throughout my 4 years at SLU.
Thank you. Erin?
Hi, all. My name is Erin. I am a current senior here at SLU. I am a current presidential scholar as well, and I will be graduating next May.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rachel Adelman, and I am an admissions counselor within the Office of Admission. I recruit students coming from the West Coast, and I'm regionally based in Northern California. Thanks for being here.
Shamar?
Hello, everyone. I'm Shamar Bufford. I'm an admission counselor in the office. I work with students from Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia, and I'm regionally based in St. Louis.
And finally, Brittany.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brittany Braden. I am also an admission counselor. I serve Minnesota, Iowa, and Indiana, and I'm also regionally based in St. Louis.
Great. Okay, Taylor, you're going to get us started. Give me a second just to get the presentation up. Can everyone see it?
Yes. Okay, here I go. So, like I said, I was an MLK scholar throughout my entire 4 years. So I applied as a high school senior. Oh, there I am. Yes, my name is Taylor. Again, I got the scholarship when I was a senior in high school, and then it began in my freshman year, and I continued it until my senior year. It is a scholarship that you can apply for when you are a current student at SLU, if that's what you choose to do. So it's something you can apply for every year. The dollar amount that you'll get in the MLK scholarship is going to be different. I know that it's at least $3,000, but it's going to depend on what your financial package is already from SLU and what scholarships you already have will determine what amount you get from MLK. But in short, it's essentially a monthly meeting, usually 2 to sometimes 3 hours every month, depending on what's going on. And in those meetings, you're going to be discussing your service projects. What volunteering and service are you doing at the university and around the St. Louis community? We also discuss current events. So depending on what was going on at the time in the world, I know they're having a lot to talk about nowadays. So yeah, that was one thing. One thing that I'm super proud of throughout my MLK experience was in 2020, after George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's deaths, we as MLK scholars definitely led a lot of the protests and community conversations that were occurring on campus. So the MLK scholarship is definitely for you if you are concerned with volunteering and service, if that's something that you want to be involved in at SLU, or if it was something that you were involved in your high school experience and you'd like to continue. But then also if you're concerned with social justice and matters of worldly events. So It's not major specific. There were a lot of poli-sci students like myself. I have a degree in poli-sci and American Studies. So if that's what you want to do, awesome. You'll probably fit in great. But if you are an engineering student or a flight science student or nursing or anything outside of what might be the traditional social justice majors, that's still something that is open to you. I know that I had super close friends and mentors who were in departments totally different than mine that I still was able to connect with and become friends with throughout the Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship Program. So it's definitely something that I recommend. The application process is fairly simple. You'll apply online, and then if you are selected, you'll be invited for an interview. They do interviews in person, but also via Zoom now, just so to remain accessible to everyone. I would always recommend coming to campus. When I interviewed for Martin Luther King Jr. Scholars, it was my first time ever visiting SLU. And I made friends that I still have to this day as an alumna at that MLK Scholarship weekend. So if you can make it to campus, highly recommend it. You'll make so many friends. I made friends as an interviewer in my senior year. So it's just a really great program that I highly recommend that you apply to. But yeah, consider all of your options. It's a great opportunity. Oh, there we go. We got some more information. So like I said, it's offered to students who care about diversity and social justice. So if you were a leader in your high school and you want to apply that to SLU, this is the program for you. We're always learning more. I will tell you that. I learned something new about a different avenue of social justice every single meeting that I went to. And I came into SLU from the South Side of Chicago. I had lost classmates due to gun violence in my high school. So social justice was not something that was new to me. But I definitely learned even more throughout my 4 years in the program. It's a great place to connect with students, but also find really awesome mentors. I still have some of those as an alumni that I still keep in contact that I'm going out with this weekend. So it's a really great place. Yeah, so you have to have a cumulative GPA of 3.25 or higher. And now you don't have to do the SAT. Back in my day, you had to have an SAT, but I'm glad that's not a thing anymore, which makes sense for the social justice scholarship. And make sure you send in your transcripts. And then for transfer students, you have to complete at least 24 credit hours of transferable college coursework and then have a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or higher as calculated by St. Louis University. So the criteria are only used for determining eligibility and are not going to guarantee you will receive the scholarship. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But like I said, it is a scholarship that you can apply to when you are a SLU student. So if you don't get it your freshman year, reapply for it your sophomore year. You'll come into it with a lot more experience, a lot more credits, and then a lot more knowledge about the events. Yep, so it has an award value of at least $3,000. I know that I received $3,000 in mine, but I had other SLU scholarships and other outside of SLU scholarships as well. So everybody's financial package is going to look a little bit different. But on average, MLK scholars receive a total of $24,000 in scholarships and aid from the university. That was definitely my case. I appreciate the MLK scholarship a lot because it helped me graduate debt-free. So go ahead and apply to that, get your money. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Appreciate it. And now I'd like to introduce Erin Conley.
Hi, all. That's me. All right, so start off, I'm just going to give you a little bit more information about me. So I am a current senior here at SLU. I'm originally from Knoxville, Tennessee. Let's see, I'm majoring in political science and international studies, so similar to Taylor in the social sciences. Within my other roles on campus, I serve currently as the chair of the Presidential Scholar Society, which is our student-led group for the scholarship program. But I'm also a part of our fall orientation group, which is called Oriflamme. If you end up coming to SLU, you'll get to meet them. They're in bright orange. I also do work with our Overground Railroad to Literacy, which is a group that works within the St. Louis Public Schools, tutoring, and also doing advocacy training within ourselves. And I just recently returned from the Ignatian Family Teaching for Justice, which was a really cool opportunity where I got to work with some congressional bills in DC advocating for different things. So that's a little bit more about me. Okay, so talking a little bit about the Presidential Scholarship. So as Taylor mentioned, the MLK Scholarship is one that you can apply to throughout your time at SLU. The Presidential Scholarship is one that you can only receive as a rising senior in high school or rising freshman in college. So talking a little bit about our mission and our core values. So we have 3 pillars that we operate around with our program, which is fellowship, service, and scholarship. So the fellowship component of it is really just trying to build community within all of your fellow presidential scholars. As Taylor said, same thing with us in terms of you don't have to be from a specific major. You do find, or at least I have found, that there are a lot of majors that are really interested in issues of social justice and advocacy, which also comes in line with our values as a Jesuit institution. But I have friends who are presidential scholars from every major that you could possibly imagine, which creates a lot of really interesting conversation and perspectives within that. So within the fellowship, some of the things that we do, we have a yearly retreat that we've started because you're meeting scholars from 4 different classes all over campus. It's not necessarily people that you would know coming in, which is a really great way to meet new people, but also to build those connections, those networks, and also just in general to learn more and have a bunch of different perspectives as you're going through your time at SLU. We also hold several fellowship events. We actually have one coming up this weekend, which is just for us to spend time outside with each other, enjoy the last of the fall weather. And then we also have a mentoring program that we call the Pres Pals, which is where we pair up with each other with upperclassmen and underclassmen scholars to try to learn from one another and really have that support. We're also based in service, and also I would add on here advocacy at the same time. So every semester we serve in a group capacity. Right now we're building a partnership with the International Institute of St. Louis, which I do some work with their refugee and immigrant college student group, but we are trying to build a lasting relationship with them. And we are serving in about a month or so at their first Thanksgiving activity. So that is something that we do as a group, but we also have what we call our service portfolio, which is more of an individual reflection. So we're one of the founding elements of the Presidential Scholars is being people who are active not only on campus, but in the community beyond them, serving and advocating and really trying to make things the way that they should be. So the service portfolio is an opportunity for us to reflect individually on that. And then in terms of scholarship, you're around a lot of really awesome, incredible, inspiring, high achieving people. And I found that the Presidential Scholarship allows a network for connecting as you're moving into the post-grad world. I've recently gone through the process of applying for several competitive scholarships and fellowships that reach beyond SLU and into whatever comes next. So the Presidential Scholars provides a really nice network and community for supporting each other through that. And then in terms of eligibility requirements, again, you need that cumulative GPA of 3.85 or higher. And that's based on the end of your junior year, obviously, because you're applying coming in early into your senior year. We also no longer have the standardized testing requirement, which, like Taylor, was something that I had. So very excited that that has been removed. And then in terms of reward amount, the Presidential Scholarship is our full tuition award here at SLU. It does not cover room and board or books or other fees like that, but it does cover all of your tuition for all 4 years, which that tuition amount changes per year. So overall, it's different for everyone, but it's full tuition. And then that will replace any other merit scholarship that you've received. So if you applied prior to hearing your decision for the Presidential Scholarship and you got a certain award amount, the Presidential Scholarship would replace that. And then in terms of eligibility, similar to the MLK Scholars, none of that means that you are necessarily going to receive it, but if you become a finalist after completing and submitting the essay question, you'll be invited to an interview weekend, which we hold mid to late February, where you go through a process of interviewing with not only current scholars such as myself, but also past scholars and other alumni who are there to help because they love SLU and they got something wonderful out of the scholarship that they participated in. So you'll go through that interview process and then scholars will be selected from there.
Thank you so much, Erin, and thank you, Taylor. Erin and Taylor are here in the chat for a little while if you have some questions. And now I'm going to shift over to my colleague, Rachel, who's going to walk us through the steps on how to apply.
Thank you. Let me see if I can. Hey, Andrea, it says the host stopped my video. Is there any way to turn that back on?
Let me see what I can do.
If not, we'll just kind of keep on going and see if it pops on. But awesome. So if you are now interested, based on what you've heard about these two opportunities, we'll show you exactly how easy it is to apply to these scholarships. Now, I always like to mention you can apply to both scholarships, both the MLK and the Presidential Scholarship, but keep in mind you'll only be able to receive one of them. So if both of them sound interesting to you, please feel free to apply and see kind of which one feels better for you. But if you have not yet filled out an application for admission, this is how you will begin that. So you do have to fill out an application for admission generally first before you'll have access to the presidential and or the MLK scholarship. So we kind of start with this page here, slu.edu/admission. It asks you how you will enter SLU. If you are a first year or a new first year student, meaning you are currently a high school senior, you are a US citizen, you've spent all 4 high school years in the United States, you would select new first year student. If you have taken any collegiate coursework post-graduating from a high school, you would be applying as a transfer student. And then for students who are not US residents or have not completed all 4 years of high school in the United States, you would be applying as an international student. So for these scholarships, you need to be applying as either a new first year student, a transfer student, or an international student. Awesome. There we are. Perfect. Okay, so next step, you will decide your pathway for your application. So if you have yet to apply to SLU, again, this is just kind of one of the first steps. So we have 4 different pathways that you can pursue to apply to St. Louis University generally. We have early decision 1 and 2. Those are both binding early agreements with St. Louis University, meaning that if you choose that pathway and you are admitted to St. Louis University, then you are contractually agreeing to attend St. Louis University. So it is a contractual stipulation. But then we have early action, which is a December 1st application deadline that does not have any binding agreement to it or contractual agreement. It basically gives you great preference for scholarships and special programs without the contractual agreement. And then we have regular decision, and that's just kind of a backup in case you miss that early action deadline. You can apply regular decision as well. So the majority of students will apply early action, so they get the best benefits and the ability to apply to these scholarship programs without having that signed contract. All right, and we'll keep moving on. So then when starting a new application, you'll see this page. You're going to have to select which campus you want to apply to. And I believe the next one has, yep. So you're going to select St. Louis University on campus, right? And then you'll fill out that information. You'll basically, yep, right there, St. Louis campus. And then from there, you'll follow the instructions to fill out that application. You'll receive an email that says, hey, congratulations, you've signed up, or we've got your application, and it'll take you through next steps from there. So again, we try to guide you through that process as best as we can. You will see some information coming into your email. So just be sure you are checking your email, because look, there's an activation account link as well as a temporary PIN that you'll need in order to get access to what's called your Billiken Gateway portal. So your Billiken Gateway portal is where you will have all of those options for applying to the scholarship. So we'll go ahead and advance a few slides. Do a few more, yep. So you'll have to submit your application first in order to, again, be considered for these special programs or these special scholarships. So then you'll log into that Billiken Gateway portal. Perfect. So this is what you'll see as your homepage. So again, once you've submitted your application for admission, you'll get those emails to log in. And then once you log into your portal, this is what you're going to see. So it's going to say, welcome. It'll say your name instead of Billy. And then it'll show you your admission application status. So you'll actually be able to keep track of your application, where it's at, for awaiting materials for you. So you'll see there's a few red X's that shows we're still missing materials from the student. And then you'll also see in that bottom right-hand corner, your assigned admissions counselors. So if you have any questions moving forward, please be sure to reach out to us. But in order to get to the presidential and MLK applications, that big blue arrow is pointing to this kind of ribbon that says competitive scholarships and programs. If you were to scroll down on your profile, you'll see there's a few more ribbons, but you want that top one that looks like this. So when you click on it, you'll see this Learn More button. And then you'll go ahead and click on that Learn More. And from there, you'll be able to see another list of competitive scholarships and programs. So you'll see the scholarships application on the left and the program applications on your right. So for today, we're talking about the left-hand side options, which are your scholarship applications, the Presidential Scholarship and the Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship. Awesome. So then if you click the presidential, you'll be able to see a little excerpt about it, and then you can click that apply button. Once you click that apply button, it's going to give you a little bit more general information about that scholarship. It'll remind you about the eligibility requirements, and then keep in mind that we do really take into account these eligibility requirements. So if you're right under that 3.85 GPA, just keep in mind it is a minimum requirement. So I always like to be as transparent as possible with students. And then from there, we have a few other application instructions that we'll need. That means we need the application by December 1st. So December 1st is the deadline for early action and these special scholarships. We'll also need 2 letters of recommendation. If you already have 2 letters of recommendation coming in for you, through the Common App or through a system called SCORE or Naviance, whatever your high school uses, we can use those same letters of recommendation. You don't have to send us 2 new ones, but just keep in mind we need 2 at the minimum in order to review you. And then those can be uploaded into your Gateway portal or sent to admission@slu.edu. All right, and then we also have a few essays that we ask you to fill out or some short answers. So do keep in mind that this might take you some time. So if you are interested in applying to either of these programs, definitely submit your application as early as you possibly can so you have time before December 1st to fill these out. So for example, we ask you for a personal statement that talks about living that St. Louis University mission of being servant leaders, men, women, and people for and with others. And then basically, what does it mean to you to be a leader? And give us an example of how you've done that. So please give time to this and really take your time with that. Keep in mind, it is about a 500-word limit as well. And then we'll ask you about some awards that you've received or anything that you want to tell us. Listing activities, leadership positions, basically the activities you put in your application for admission, or if you have a resume, it'll need to be copy and pasted into here as well. And then if you do community service and or volunteering activities, we want to know about those too. And then you're going to hit that big old submit button at the bottom. Notice there's also a save for later button. So if you go in and you start filling it out a little bit and you're like, oh, I just need time to rethink my answers or what have you, you can click save for later and come back to it. But just don't forget to submit it by December 1st. All right. And then you'll receive this email that says, thank you for your application to St. Louis University, and just reminding you of the minimum requirements. So you'll get that confirmation and knowing that it was submitted successfully once you do press that submit button. Perfect. All right. So now we'll talk about, I think we'll talk about MLK, very similar to the way of applying to the presidential scholarship. So you'll see that competitive scholarships and programs ribbon again. And then from there, you'll be able to go in to learn more. And then instead of pressing on the presidential scholarship on that left-hand side, you'll press Martin Luther King Jr. scholarship. So that one also has a description. You'll hit the apply button. Awesome. Kind of the same thing. It'll tell you a little bit more about that scholarship opportunity and that program, minimum requirements and application instructions. Notice that the MLK scholarship actually has a different deadline than the presidential scholarship. So right there at the bottom, February 1st is the deadline for this scholarship. I still say the earlier you can submit it, the better. I always try to advise students to, if you're going to apply to these programs, try to apply before Christmas time, just so by the time Christmas comes around, you can relax, enjoy the holidays, and feel good that all of your applications have been submitted. But that being said, February 1st is the ultimate deadline for MLK. All right, and you'll notice there will be different prompts and different things that we ask of you in this application as well. So we're talking about, or we're asking you to describe an experience or project you work with and through social justice. What did you learn about working in that diverse setting for this experience and or project, as well as how can you see yourself being an agent for change at SLU's campus. A little insider information, be sure you are answering every part of the prompt, because sometimes students will only focus on that first question and forget to tell us about how they see themselves being an agent of change on SLU's campus. And that's something we want to know. So just be sure in your answer, you are answering every single section of the prompt. We also ask you to list any awards or honors, as well as your activities and leadership positions and community service and volunteer work. So the difference between these two, again, they're very different as far as kind of what they're focusing in on. But mostly those two essays are going to be the difference in the actual application process. So again, you'll submit the application when you're ready, or you can save for later if you want to work on it and then need some more time. All right. So once you press submit, you'll get this. You'll see, okay, you've done it. Thanks for your application to St. Louis University's Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship, as well as those minimum requirements. And then you'll receive this email to confirm with those same listings and reminders of requirements. And then that is pretty much it on how to apply. I know we kind of raced through what that looks like, but that being said, your Billiken Gateway portal is where you're going to find all of this information. Be sure to scroll down because it kind of gives you just that top information, and you'll need to scroll down just a little bit to see that ribbon for applying to those competitive scholarships and programs. But at this time, I wanted to see if there were any questions, any clarification we can provide on these scholarships. I still see that Aaron and Taylor are with us. If there's any questions for their experience, please put them in the Q&A and we'll hang out a little bit. We do have one question in our Q&A that I'll go ahead and see. Will a recording of this presentation be available, and where can we access it? I have a feeling the answer is yes, but I want to double check with Andrea where we can find it.
That's a great question. That will be available at slu.edu/visit, where you came to sign up for this event. It will be listed in the virtual visits option. So that's slu.edu/visit.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Another question that we just received were how many students are awarded the presidential scholarship yearly? That is a great question. So every year it's a little bit different. There's not like a set number of spots every single year that we have available for students who apply and interview for the presidential scholarship. Something else to clarify as well with the application process for presidential and MLK is it is a two-part process. So we just walked through how to submit the actual application. But that being said, during the month of December and into January, we will do a review of the applications that we have for both of those scholarships. And then what we will do is we will invite students on campus for an interview. So I believe Erin mentioned that experience that she had as well of coming onto campus, doing the interview in person. We have a couple days, it's usually in February and then March for MLK, that we will have in-person interviews. And then from those interviews is where we get our presidential scholars. So to give you some general numbers, so again, I say the word general because it does change year to year. We will have anywhere from 700 to 1,000 students apply for the presidential scholarship. Again, just varies year to year. We will interview about 350 to 450 students, either on campus or virtually. And then from those numbers, we tend to award, and again, it's a range, we tend on average to award between 25 and 45 full tuition scholarships. But again, it changes year to year. I would say, it's definitely a huge advantage that we don't just award like 2 or 3. We do award a good chunk of students that full tuition scholarship. All right. Let's see if we have anything else. Another good question is, what do the in-person interviews focus on for presidential scholarships specifically? That is a good question. Erin, if you're on, I'd love to hear about what you talked about just briefly in your interview. But to answer that a little bit generally is it's a leadership-based scholarship. So a lot of the questions kind of hover around the topic of leadership and how you've exemplified that. But Erin, anything you want to add?
Yeah, sure. So I think that one of the biggest things for me, both like going through the interview process, but also being on the other side of it, one of the things that I talked about a lot was the things that I was passionate about in high school and the things that I wanted to continue working towards. A big part of the presidential scholarship is servant leadership. And a lot of that for me translated into advocacy. So I talked about some of the different projects that I did in high school surrounding the immigrant and refugee population in my hometown, and some of the work that I did to help increase support systems for them. And then on the other side, like for me as an interviewer, again, I really love to see and hear about what y'all are passionate about, because ultimately, hopefully you're coming to SLU to help to get the skills and learn how you can make an impact on the world around you. So really just talk about the things that make you really excited for the future.
Awesome. Thank you. And if you are invited on campus for an in-person interview, your admissions counselor will also send you an email with some tips for the week, or for the weekend that you come out, tips for the interview and such. So just know that we try to advocate for you as much as we possibly can, so that way you can have a really successful and hopefully a great experience during those interview weekends as well.
I'd like to respond a little bit more about the interviewers and the interview process, Rachel. Each student is interviewed twice by 2 different groups, and those groups are made up from anywhere from 2 to 4 people, and they are going to be current scholars, either Martin Luther King Jr. scholars or presidential scholars. Faculty and staff participate, as well as alumni. We have an alumni network of well over 100,000 people. And so for students that do a virtual interview, their interviewer could be located anywhere in the world. Students who come to the on-campus interview, it's generally going to be faculty, local alumni, and current students.
Perfect. Thank you. Any last minute questions about these scholarships, interview process? We usually tend to notify students if they have received these scholarships, usually during the month of March and April. So we try to turn them around so that way you still have about a month or longer to make your overall decision if St. Louis University is going to be the right place for you. All right, I don't see any more questions coming in, but I do want to remind you, if you have not reached out to your admissions counselor, or if you do have any questions about these two scholarships, or really anything about St. Louis University, check that Billiken Gateway portal. Once you've applied, you'll see their contact information. Please reach out to them. We are resources here to help you throughout this entire process, so please don't feel like you are alone in this. Please ask any questions you have and reach out. We always love to hear from you as well. But for now, I'll pass it back to Andrea to see if we have anything else.
Thanks, Rachel. We will hang out until 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. If you have any further questions, we'll be here. I can respond about, are the interviews only in person? We do strongly encourage students who live in the continental United States to come to one of the weekends. Students are allowed to choose which weekend they would like to come, but international students are not required to come to St. Louis for the interview. And we will have a whole week in February where we do the interviews from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday. So we will accommodate students who live internationally.
I see some questions about additional scholarship opportunities. So these are just two examples of our special scholarships that are through St. Louis University. But that being said, we will accept other private or outside scholarships as well. So I encourage you to go to our website and look in our kind of general admissions page of our website, as we do mention a few other scholarships, including some websites where you can apply for additional scholarships like fastweb.com, scholarships.com. I also encourage you to look locally and see if there are any scholarship opportunities within the city that you live in, the town that you live in, because you may be surprised there are quite a few out there. They just don't get very heavily publicized. That being said, for international students, international scholarships, you will be considered for merit-based aid. And then we do have some scholarship consideration for that financial aid piece as well. But that being said, we don't have any like other specific scholarships just for international students, but we do our best to try to give you the best financial aid offer that we can. And then we had a question just on the general admission process of how long does it take? What does it look like? So keep in mind, it depends on the pathway you select. So if you select early action, the deadline for submitting your application is December 1st. And then from there, you will receive an admissions decision on or before February 1st from St. Louis University. So we do our best to try and get you that decision as fast as we can, but we do have quite a few applications that we have to read and get through, especially if you're applying as an international student. We have to verify, quite a few things. So just please be patient with us. And if you do have questions on if you are missing materials or you want an update on your status, please feel free to email your admissions counselor and see kind of the status on that application. If you apply regular decision, so that is anytime after the December 1st deadline, then we hope to give you an admissions decision on or before April 15th, but typically it's going to take about 4 weeks or so after you've submitted your application and everything has been submitted, meaning all of the supplemental items that we need from you too. It's going to take probably about 4 weeks. So again, please be patient with us, but do ask us any questions if you have them.
And for those of you that are still with us, we will hang out for another 18 minutes. So if you have anything, we'll be here to answer your questions.
So I know we mentioned on the Billiken Gateway, we were talking about those special scholarships today on that left-hand side. But on the right-hand side, there were these program applications that you could fill out an additional application to be considered for special programs. So more information about those programs are on the website. And then we are also doing a pre-med and medical scholars session tomorrow. So another webinar just like this. If you're interested in medicine or pursuing medicine, that might be a good webinar to attend as well. But we have additional program applications for specific focuses. We have a university-wide honors program that students can apply to, a law scholars program that's in partnership with our law school, medical scholars is in partnership with our medical school, nutrition and dietetics, speech language hearing, pharmacy scholars, just to name a few of those programs. Those are additional opportunities that you can apply for as well. There is no scholarship associated with those programs. It is an early guarantee opportunity, either via interview or spot in those graduate programs. And then we also have our MICA program, which is a service oriented program as well. So if you are interested in any of those options, please do explore them in your Billiken Gateway portal and see if any of those sound interesting to apply to. Another really good question came in. So yes, we do offer need-based financial aid. So we're talking about scholarships today, right? So the first opportunity for scholarships at St. Louis University is through merit-based scholarships. Merit-based scholarships are automatically considered with your application for admission. They're based on your transcript, your GPA, as well as if you chose to submit test scores and wanted them to be included in your application, either from the SAT or the ACT. Those scholarships usually go up to about $25,000, renewable all 4 years. And with our Billiken Promise, we actually extend it into a 5th year as a backup in case you need it. We don't anticipate that you'll take longer than 4 years to graduate, but we just guarantee them through 5. And then you'll also, of course, have the opportunity to apply to these special scholarships. But then after that, yes, we do consider need-based financial aid. The best way to be reviewed for that is by submitting the free application for federal student aid, also known as the FAFSA. That is going to be opening in December, and we understand there's been some changes with the FAFSA this year. So we are doing our best with that, but it should be opening in about a month. Please fill that out, send it to St. Louis University, or at least include us in your list of recipients. And then from there, we will be awarding need-based aid opportunities. If you are an international student and cannot fill out the FAFSA, just keep in mind that we do have a process in place for awarding international students some additional financial aid as well. So you do not need to submit the CSS profile or anything like that. You will just automatically be considered for that, having an international student status. That being said, we will not consider your financial aid information, meaning your FAFSA information. That will not be a factor in whether or not we offer you admission to St. Louis University. We look at your essentially your merit information. We look at your entire application very holistically, but financial aid and the ability to pay for that is not considered in the admissions decision. That being said, we will have some conversations come February, March, and April with families once they've received their financial aid offer from SLU, basically to see, do you have any questions? Is SLU going to be a feasible financial fit for you and your family? And basically just make sure we answer those questions so that way you know you're making the best decision for yourself, the best fit for you overall, financially, majors wise, size wise, university wise, exactly. So just know that your financial aid information will not be factored in determining your eligibility for admission to SLU. Got another question that came in, and I kind of already answered it, but even though for international students, we don't review the CSS profile, we will automatically consider you for those kind of need-based financial aid scholarships automatically. But that being said, you know, definitely fill out applications for presidential scholarship for MLK to give yourself the best opportunity to receive those kinds of scholarships. But after that, you know, there aren't going to be too many options that we can give you from St. Louis University. So that is where I'd encourage you to look outside at outside scholarships, at additional opportunities, either locally or through those websites that we list as well. So scholarships.com, fastweb.com, things like that. So you can add on as many scholarships as you possibly can.
So I wanted to shed light on this question, really good question. So when it comes to on-campus jobs, we always like to preface, you know, our students will have to check on Handshake to apply to those jobs. Those jobs will become available on July 1st. And so you will have access to be applying to those on-campus jobs. Now, one thing we do like to know is that those jobs are not guaranteed. So we do have students who will need to have resumes, kind of have those cover letters going. We will allow our students to work with career service to build with those, with the job opportunities on campus, but you will have to apply to those jobs. When it comes to, you know, just the living expenses on campus, you know, we do try our best to get our students the best financial aid possible. And so as Rachel has mentioned, like, you know, we're going to help in those different categories, but we also will point our students in the right direction with finding, you know, more opportunities to find more money when it comes to, you know, those living expenses on campus. But jobs are available, but you will have to apply to those. And we do, you know, some programs around campus will require you to have a cover letter and a resume. Great question.
Okay, it seems like everyone has asked all of their questions, so I want to thank you all for attending. I put some links up here. You can go to slu.edu and search admission, and someone will be available for you anytime. Thank you so much. Like we said earlier, the recording will be available on our visit page, which is slu.edu/visit in the next couple of days. So thanks so much for your interest in St. Louis University, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks.